CEO and co-founder of Avalon Meta. We have Mr. Shashank Udupa, who serves as the COO and the co-founder of Avalon Meta. And we have the Chief Marketing Officer with us, Mr. Abhinav Arora from Avalon Meta. Guys, it's lovely to have you guys here.
Thank you, Varun.
Thank you, Varun.
Yeah. So, guys, for the benefit of our audience, can you briefly and quickly explain the whole Avalon Meta concept to everyone and what you guys are doing?
We'll wait for Varun to show up. Varun?
Sure. Ooh.
I think he's muted. You'll have to unmute.
You're on mute, Varun.
Yeah.
I think you're on server mute.
No, I said I was here. I was just finishing my food.
Compliments to your background.
Thank you. It's made an Unreal Engine.
Oh, nice.
Abhinav, over to you. You can begin.
Sure. What's the question?
So introduce yourself and Avalon Meta to the audience.
Myself, I'm just the audience. I was sitting there. I mean, if this was the central library hall, I would be sitting there in the audience. And it's been, I think, 4 or 5 years since I quit. I mean, since I got out of college, graduated out of college. I'll tell you about Avalon Meta because I don't like to talk much about myself. But Avalon Meta, I'll tell you what's happening. I'll try to be subtle, but I'll try to be very realistic. So from all the batchmates that I have in Manipal and all the batchmates that Varun and I have in Manipal, it's a fairly observable trend that 70% people who are graduating out of whatever courses they're doing are not really ending up doing what they picked up in college formally. They end up doing stuff that they picked up informally, and most of these occupations are digital occupations. It's marketing, it's digital sales, it's coding. I see a lot of mechanical engineers from Manipal who ended up being developers. So we never found an established structure for what was actually happening in the real world. Of course, I mean, people are learning XYZ engineering, but they're not ending up doing that. What they're ending up doing, they're not finding an infrastructure for that. So our attempt to build that infrastructure is Avalon Meta. It's a digital university for digital skills.
Fair enough. Varun, Shashank, do you guys have anything to add to that?
Shanks, you want to go?
The way we look at, first of all, we've all been through college and we've gone through that entire course of doing the college. I even did my master's in going back. And these guys realized it very early, Varun and Abhinav, that colleges are not bridging that skill gap that you actually need. I realized it after going abroad and coming back so a lot of waste of money had happened at that point. So what we realized was there was a lot of skill gap between what the employers want and what actually is happening with the students right now. And what we're seeing is a lot of millennials are okay to upskill themselves. They're okay to learn new things, and they're okay to not just sit in college and do what they're doing. So that is where we stepped in and we said, okay, we're going to teach people real life skills, and we're going to make people understand how it is in the real world so that you come out of that college life much before you actually graduate, right? So that's like a small brief of what we actually do.
So the idea you guys are talking about is fairly new to the Indian market, right? So what kind of feedback are you guys getting from the market and customers in general? Are people apprehensive towards your newer approach, or is it easier?
Yeah, I think I'll tell you a little bit about my Manipal history, right? Because I absolutely loved my college years. Not when it comes to learning something, but just the friends I made, the smell of the soil when it rains. It was just, these are some of the things that you can never get back, and you can't kind of replicate it digitally. But for everything else, right, it was just everyone knows the situation is garbage. Everyone knows that you're doing some fake assignments, you're submitting some nonsense on a daily basis, and you're being made to do exams that half of you are cheating on or cheating in. So it's, and obviously I don't mean any disrespect to colleges because I went to one myself. But it was just, everybody knows, like, it's a shared kind of fraud, right? So to kind of beat that, we built a system where we not just replicate the teaching part of it with good teachers, we also replicate the social element of it. So I think the numbers speak for themselves. That the app is, within like a couple of months, we hit 50,000 users. I've lost count of the user. Like, I don't keep track of what the user count is on a daily basis anymore. The Discord, I think, is growing at about 10, 15,000 users a month, more or less organic. They're spending a lot of time with each other. Our retention is like 92% plus. And this makes it seem like our users are we're some social media and we're kind of using our users. So I don't like thinking of it that way. I like thinking of it in a way where we have fun doing what we're doing. And other people who jump onto our server, who kind of chat with each other, who are studying and learning from each other. So you'll find people on our server, for example, who are learning Blender and teaching other people Blender. You'll find people on our server who are learning Unreal and teaching other people Unreal. Finance, stock trading. Like I take tips from the stock trading channel from 22, 23-year-olds. So it's a very, let's just say it's exactly what college should have been. It built the campus of college, and it will never replicate the smell of soil when it rains in Manipal. But I think for that, we are working on some stuff on the offline bit so that you guys can get to meet each other. And all this happens at either free cost or at less than 5% of college. And if you're talking Manipal, then less than 1% of the fees, which allows you to use the rest of that money to kind of do something by yourself, right?
Well, Varun, I'll be honest, I'm also missing the smell of soil back in college, but unfortunately, given the current circumstances, there's nothing much we can do. True. So, guys, the idea is pretty neat. The idea of Avalon Meta is pretty neat. I have a question. If you guys don't mind sharing this, what are your plans for scalability? How do you plan on expanding this on a global stage?
Abhinav, want to take this?
I don't see any hurdles, with us expanding, because there are no frontiers like there would be in an offline campus. We don't have to build a brick and mortar campus. Our campus is online. It's on Discord right now. 2 months down the line or 3 months down the line, it'll be on our app. And with tech, with digital, that's the thing with digital. No, that's something I realized back in college while I was sitting in my dormitory, that I don't have to constrain myself to, the economy of Manipal or, the constraints of Manipal. I was there and I picked up this skill called running ads. And, I was selling stuff to tier 1 cities. I started with tier 1 cities. I went down to tier 2 cities, and I realized the power of digital. That's what we're leveraging on. And digital, I mean, I don't think we have any constraints in, scaling in India. Beyond India, I'll tell you the next country that we're aiming at. We're aiming at Canada. We've got our partners there. We're aiming to, we already have, talks going on with a few mentors who can capture the English market, the Western market. They want Western faces. They don't really like, Indian faces teaching to them, or the accent. I mean, if you have an Indian who spent 70 years there, it's fine. So I think India shouldn't be a problem. Canada, let's see how that, pans out.
All right. So, Abhinav, expanding on your digital point of view, I have a bit of a selfish question, I would say. And I'm pretty sure this might help everyone in Manipal as well.
Can someone take care of, the participants who want to join this meeting, because it keeps popping up? Kind of
guys,
annoying.
Organizers, please do look into that. We'll be continuing our session. So, Abhinav, as mentioned, I have a bit of a selfish question, and I'm pretty sure this might help everyone out in Manipal as well. So you and Varun might remember there being a lot of clubs from back in your Manipal days, right? There was a club for almost, So there was a club for almost everything. And now these clubs are going into recruitment seasons where they'll be trying to rope freshers into their club. So mostly what they do is, give people banners and tell them to stand all around the campus and stuff like that. So do you guys have any digital tips or something along those lines in which, they can refine this whole process?
Of recruitment?
Of marketing their clubs to freshers, I would say.
There's a lot of stuff that you guys can do. And I think the clubs, I want to, I'm sorry, I might not answer this question in a direct way, but I want to stress, you reminded me of something. You reminded me of clubs, and I want to stress on the importance of those clubs. You remember there used to be a club called IECSC? There's probably still is.
It's still there.
A lot of folks who picked up skills there, who picked up, coding there, who picked up graphic design there, who picked up UI UX there, end up taking these skills to their profession. It's the clubs where, the actual education is happening. The talking skills and communicating skills, I think I picked up some of them from ISEC and my internship abroad, or whatever, exchange abroad from ISEC. I think that is what brings the real value. And, instead of telling you how to go about the marketing of things, I think you can look at, there are certain clubs that are always top tier. IST, ISEC, IECSC.
Yeah.
Look at the kind of things that these guys do.
Fair enough.
And a lot of bottom clubs aren't able to, rise up to all of this thing. Create content. MIT Live brought that tradition in the college, right? Create content, create as much content, do vlogs, live stream each and every activity that happens. You'll slowly and slowly and steadily you'll build a base around whatever you're live casting, and people would want to join because people have transparency into what you guys do. And affinity just automatically builds up. If you're an energetic bunch of crowd, you will attract your tribe.
All right, Shashank, Varun, do you guys have anything to add to that?
I'm just confused. People take banners and standouts because I'm not from Manipal, so I don't know. But people
they do.
Outside to tell people join the club. Is that how it works?
It's a little primitive, so yeah, it does happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not familiar with the clubs that are there in Manipal, but I do know that the value of clubs and houses and stuff like that is super important. I think Varun will talk about the houses part, but we do believe that the clubs and being a part of something big and collective learning is super important. And I think we've done something very similar in Meta as well. I think Varun can talk about the houses that we've made.
Yeah, when it comes to advertising, I think you'll be doing most people in the world are going to be doing advertising all their lives, like sales plus advertising, some sort of form of advertising. So why not just enjoy your college life and join a club rather than stand like a human advertisement? I think human advertisements are the stupidest, no offense to anybody again.
No offense to everyone, yeah.
Scale, like, okay, think about footfall. Let's talk about footfall, right? Say you're standing at, what's it called? KC. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's SP now.
Okay. SP,
yeah.
Fine.
Are you sure? Because SP used to be right beside KC.
Yeah, you're talking about...
It's a whole thing. It changed like 2 years back, but yeah.
Okay, sorry guys.
Oh, okay, sorry. He's talking about something else also.
I'm a 70-year-old man, but and Manipal was a very long time ago. But okay, what footfall? Right? I'll tell you the total size, and I did this math when we were doing t-shirts. The total size of the students in Manipal, including the medical and stuff, is about 25,000 people. At any given point in Manipal, there'll be 20,000 people. The reason there's 20,000 people is because the other 5,000 are either on their way home or they're in the middle of exams. Like, they're not tappable, right? So the tappable or the addressable market is about 20,000 people at max. Out of which I would say, the number of people entering KC is a small stream. It's like 300, 400 people. It looks like a lot of people, but actually if you stand there even for a few hours, like just like 300, 400 people. Abhinav, what's the math on advertising to 300 people on Facebook?
Yeah, my problem with these guys advertising is the clubs don't give them any money.
Correct, but what is the math? But what is the math?
I know.
300 people, dude.
See, this is something you can figure out because I ran ads. There was a time that I also hosted a show in Central Library Hall, whatever you call it. I spent about $2,000 on that thing, and I managed to fill the hall by, converted people. Conversion is what is the word I would use. It was about 100 folks, and that's more than what I sort of expected. You might see a rise in cost, but again, dude, it makes a lot of sense. I'll tell you why. I used to run a few startups in the incubation chamber or innovation center.
MUTVI, yeah.
The best talent I found was not attracted via sitting or standing on KC with a desk or whatever you call it. So what do you call those desks?
Infodesks.
Infodesk, yeah. The best talent didn't come from there. The best talent for an MIT run startup came from MCOPS, Manipal College of Pharmaceutical Sciences, some guys from MCODS, some other guys from hotel management. So there is this diversity that MIT doesn't ever tap into, and you can reach those boundaries only via digital.
I don't think it's more than $400, $500 to get to really
a
just
decent reach. Yeah, dude, Manipal doesn't have any competition. Who's running ads to you guys? Nobody. Sorry.
Yeah, I think people should just focus on content, make it cool, rather than.
That's better. Yeah, that's a lifelong kind of long-term thing. Now, my question to the clubs is different. Like, this is the devil's advocate side of running ads. Why do you want the most number of people? Why are all the clubs competing to get the most, like the largest size? When you get too many people, you get a lot of.
Competition is to get the cream of the top, right? Just the best of the best.
Exactly.
And I feel like what Abhinav is saying, that that makes sense. So
if you do content,
anyway,
you get
guys.
cream.
So that's advice for everyone present over here. You do content, you get cream.
Smart
Anyway,
content, stupid content.
MTTN used to get a lot. Dude, think about it. MTTN used to have massive recruitments. There, every single recruitment would have 500, 600 people because they were a content company or they were a content club. Are they still alive?
They are still alive. Yeah.
So
they're still kicking and alive.
They always get the cream of the crowd because the guys who show up, the guys who recruited, they end up posting photographs of themselves on via MTTN, and that guarantees them certain reach. So it's a media company. Media company always sorry, we're talking about clubs. Every club's got to be a media club, and a media club is always going to attract the most cream or the toppest cream.
All right, guys. So now moving on, we were talking about recruitments, right? So this is an open question to all of you. How do you guys recruit a person? What qualities do you think stand out when you guys are looking for people to work with you? Shashank, would you like to take charge?
Oh, we look at degree very seriously. Like extremely seriously. I'm just kidding. We don't at all.
Dude, you got to be an MBA to be on our team.
Yeah, we don't care about. So I think when we came to Manipal, also when we hired for the first time, the first thing that we did was we told everyone to come in the room, and they all come with that shirt first of all, button till the top, and they get their degree.
Just like you, Arunjay.
Yeah, just
like, I love shirts, dude. I would wear this anywhere.
Pull it off. I'm saying for the people who don't pull it off, which is extra oversized, right?
Oh,
and
thanks,
I think
man.
Manipal has a standard template format for CVs. That's what I noticed when I came there.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone has that. And the first thing we did is we told everyone just put your CVs upside down. We don't want to see your CVs at all because we don't care what is there in the CVs. And we're more interested in how you are, what is your thought process, and are you a person who thinks outside the box or who thinks like how the society wants you to think, right? So I think we asked some very weird questions during the interview, very controversial, weird questions. And there was no right or wrong answer, right? We were not looking for a right or wrong answer saying if he answers this, we hire him. No, it was more about how is he going to answer it? How is he, is he going along with the crowd and just saying, yes, what you're saying is right? Or is he going against it and just, contesting it in a weird way, even if his point was wrong, but we want to see that intent, right? So we look at more from a personality angle and the intent to learn because look, in today's date, anyone gets a job, they have to learn. I mean, when they enter a new organization, you have that training period, right? Which is common. But it all depends on the guy whether the guy or girl, whoever it is it a good, who has that intent to learn or not. So that is very important for us. We don't care about the degree. So that's how it is.
So Shashank, you mentioned something along the lines of out of the box thinking, right? Now, out of the box thinking, I believe is very subjective from person to person. What I think out of the box thinking is different for me, it's different for Varun, it's different for Abhinav. So what according to you would be out of the box thinking?
See, first of all, most of the society puts us in a box anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anything going outside that is outside the box. Whether it's a right outside the box or wrong outside the box, we don't care. But if the society is telling you that walk 3 steps ahead and then take a right, but if you say, why can't I walk 4 steps and then take a left, then we're looking at something like that. You get what I'm saying? So we're not looking at people who are with blinders, who have been programmed and tuned saying this is the right way to go. I'm not saying that's the right way or the wrong way. Maybe it is the right way, but have a thought process of your own saying, why is it the right way? It might be the right way, but just, question that and don't just follow what people are telling you to follow.
I think the words Shashank are trying, you can succinctly put it down as critical thought, critical thinking. That's what we look for.
Be curious and question.
Unless you're a developer, then we look for critical thinking in a different language. Rather than English, we're looking at critical thinking in C++ or whatever it is.
I mean, we like people who ask us questions than the people who don't ask us questions scare us more because then I'm confused whether he's even understanding what I'm saying or not. So I'd rather have people asking me stupid questions or even normal questions than people who will just say yes, sir, and then screw it up later on. So.
That's very important. That's what you guys are trying to build in Avalon Meta as well, right? A university where peers teach peers, asking questions, the whole culture. Yeah, understandable. That's cool. So, guys, another very serious question, I would say, with the whole COVID situation hitting the world right now and the state of the Indian economy is, let's say, not the best. How advisable do you think it is for youngsters to come into the whole Indian ecosystem of startups right now?
Dude, so there's this saying by Taleb, which I really love, right? He says that India is a renting economy rather than a risk economy. Whereas the US, for example, is a risk economy. Where do you think jobs come from? Like take a deep dive and think about where jobs come from. Jobs have only one source. Actually, two sources. The first source can be government, right? And government jobs are like less than 0 point something percent of all jobs. The rest of the jobs are all created by entrepreneurs. And today, if you don't have enough entrepreneurs creating the jobs, where are the jobs going to come from? They're not going to come. And everyone's just going to be unemployed. And they're going to look to not to the entrepreneurs, but they're going to look at the government. They're going to be like, please give me a job. Right? So it becomes like you're blaming the wrong person. You need more entrepreneurs. To create more entrepreneurs, you need an environment that encourages and fosters entrepreneurs, that encourages failure. Because the thing with entrepreneurship is we don't know what works. There's no rule book, right? Whereas in college with exams, you know what, you at least have a book and say that, okay, these 10 chapters might come out. Whereas with entrepreneurship, there is no rule book, right? So the question I ask you is, or the question I have to ask everybody is, do you want to be part of a crowd that will eventually not have enough entrepreneurs to support them, or do you want to be the one that supports employment? It's your choice. Right? And most of India is actually entrepreneurs, like the mom and pop store at the, like you don't have to be a Flipkart or a whatever Facebook to be entrepreneurs. You can be a small mom and pop store. You can run a restaurant. Like entrepreneurship can be anything. So look for the ways, and especially for you guys, if you don't have a crazy amount of capital behind you, look for ways that you can do entrepreneurship without spending too much money, which means digital entrepreneurship.
And also I think that like what you mentioned, right, in this Indian economy is really bad, and what do we think about jobs and stuff like that. I don't honestly believe that's true, because the economy has already bounced back after March. March was a bad time, but everything's come back to normal, number one. And the people who keep saying that we don't have jobs, or there's lack of jobs, they blame the government, or they blame, say, whoever the ruling party is, whether it's Congress or BJP, nobody cares, but they just keep blaming, saying there's no there's no jobs. Now, as Varun mentioned, right, you can't just blame them, because the number of jobs that they give, they're maxed out, because that they have to give either way, right? You want to incentivize more jobs, you have to get more businesses, or you have to help more businesses grow if they're not already there, but or get more businesses running from the ground up, right? And another important thing is, now every person who graduates from college comes out and says, I don't have a job, unemployment, right? If you're good, you'll get a job in any market, whether it's recession or we're booming in life. If you're good, you will get a job because you're good, right? If you're not good and you're subpar, or you're at the same level as 100 other people, you're competing with 100 other people, no one's going to come with one puja thali and say, please come join my company and take this and stuff like that. The people who do that might be in call centers, right? So if you want a legitimate job, go out and get some brains, get some skills, or be different from what the other crowd is. That's how I look at it.
But then, guys, adding to that, don't you feel like the kind of entrepreneurs we need is also plays a major factor over here? So let me elaborate on that a little bit. So 2008, India and China both were at the brink of, being one of the most developed nations in the world. And people thought India would overtake China because people in India could speak English. But end of the day, China went totally into innovation, and India got sidetracked into the service industry. Infosys, TCS, all these companies, they're more of service industries, I would say, to clients in the US. So don't you guys feel like we need a bit more, we need innovative entrepreneurs? That's what I'm trying to say. People with new ideas, not people who just start another service industry. What is your entire take on this whole situation?
No, that's not true. I'll tell you why. Because in 2008, when the service industry boomed, that boomed because there was demand from India. There was demand that Indians were actually satisfying for the US, right? So it was because of that demand that a lot of entrepreneurs came. HCL, Wipro, TCS, they all came into that and became big companies. And it's not only these big companies that you talk about. There were a lot of mom and pop, small tech firms that had also started up outsourcing it to bigger companies, right? And that was the demand at that point of time for India. Right? Obviously, the demand was there for China as well, but we also were satisfying the demand because the demand was so big, because we were going through a tech boom at that point. If you look at the same thing right now, what's happened after COVID, right? India is now becoming the pharmaceutical hub. We had pharma in India even 3 years ago, 4 years ago, we had pharma, but no one cared about it too much. But now, since China shut shop, everyone's coming to India and saying, you are the next pharmaceutical services provider. Please give us these generic medicines, right? So now India is becoming, so basically the new pharma companies are the old Infosys. It's like that. So again, it all depends on demand and supply, the way I see it. It's all depends on demand and supply. Now I can say that, okay, I'm going to make a new startup for waste management, right? But if there's no demand for that, and if it's not trending, or if it's not, in the market, I'll be a very small niche player and I won't grow at the same speed that I might be growing if I had a pharma company. That's how it is.
I actually fully agree with Shashank. Like, think about the Indian audience. Like, most of us live under the poverty line. We don't care about innovative solutions. And plus, do one thing, okay? Come up with a very crazy innovative solution that no one's thought of. Go to venture capital firms and tell them to invest in you. See what happens. Right? It's the silliest thing ever. They'll say no. They'll say we don't understand your space. It's too risky. You have to understand the more innovative you are, the more risk you are accruing. Avalon Meta, for example, is a very risky business. We have no idea why investors invested in us, but it's a very risky business. When at the time when we pitched it, when we said we're going to build a full digital university, this was pre-COVID, remember. But post-COVID, we didn't predict COVID, but we knew at some point, 5-6 years down the line, it'll work. And we didn't mind looking like fools for 5-6 years working on a digital university. But suddenly COVID happened and Zoom classes happened. And suddenly everybody said, fuck Zoom classes. We'll do Avalon. Right? So we were lucky to a certain extent that our belief system accelerated by 5 years. Right? But otherwise raising capital and also we're good salesmen, right? We can sell a VC and we raised money, I think, in Jan. Right? So I don't think that most people in India are like that and can pull off something so risky without the kind of experience we have. It's very difficult. And second thing is obviously, like Shashank said, look at the market. There's no demand from VCs. Do you think there'll be demand from customers? Customers don't care. Like the customers are like, I don't care whether your solution is innovative or not. I want fast internet. I don't care whether you use gigabit or opti fiber or glass. I don't give a shit what you're using behind the scenes. I want fast internet. Customer only cares about benefit. There are a lot of customer support tools coming up. I actually read about one today that's raised Series B now. The customer support tools prevent you from directly reaching out to a call center employee. All the companies want this. The companies saying, yes, I want all these tools which bypass call center employees. But do the customers want it? The reason those tools are not getting so much adoption because the customers are like, screw you, I want to talk to a real person to actually fix my problems.
So solve simple things and see what's trending. And the simpler things you solve, you can have your innovation and all in the back end, but the simple things to the customer, it should be damn simple, right? Like I see this emergence with the company called Boat as well, that Abhinav also knows pretty well. At one point when you had to buy headphones, quality, brand name and premiumness mattered a lot when we were buying those big headphones earlier on, right? Now nobody cares so much about that. We are okay with buying something that is not extremely expensive, but as long as the brand is cool and they have coolness around them, we're okay with that.
Even though flaunt value chahiye, thoda sa sturdiness chahiye. If you crack the code, you've cracked the code.
They got a few cricketers, they put in some Punjabi songs and after that it became cool and people are buying it even though they know that it is not very expensive, right? So people are okay with that as long as it's just simple, straightforward, and being cool in today's world apparently works a lot.
Basically, flexing sells.
Dude, I'll tell you. No, actually, don't miss the point. Flex does not just flex might sell in a certain industry, but the overall thing is, how Varun and Shashank are trying to explain is adoption. Adoption nahi hai to danda nahi hai. Then you are not an entrepreneur. Then you are just a scientist running experiments in a lab, making some technology that's only usable by 10 people. You're not an entrepreneur. You're not creating jobs. There's no super bar India becoming, if you follow that. Now, wait, you need to understand, there is a certain natural trajectory that innovation, the coolness is following in the internet space. It starts with Asia. And not India. It starts with China and Japan. And, these guys are the first ones to roll out emojis. These guys are the first ones to roll out live streams and all of that. Then it trickles down to US teens. Then these innovation, then this internet innovation makes way to Snapchat and TikTok and blah, blah, blah. And trends like that get popular amongst teens in US and India. Then it goes to adults. Then it makes way into Facebook, where, the 30, 40-year-old population is. And finally, it gets onto business. Like, now you're seeing my background because I've used a green screen and, this is a gateway to AR. This made its way into Zoom years after it made its way into China. And then it made its way into Snapchat. Then it made its way into Facebook. Then it came all the way to business. So you have to follow this trajectory. If you want to look for new trends, why does Paytm founder and Kunal Shah, why did these guys spend a lot of time in China, back in pre-COVID era? Innovation is the mobile ecosystem, the mobile startup ecosystem is crazy there. If you want to forecast future, look to what's the trend there, then follow the cycle. It'll make it to teens, then adults, then business. LinkedIn is now throwing emojis. LinkedIn is now doing live stream.
And we've also seen this one thing, right? Where, especially when I was young, I made this mistake. So maybe you guys will also make this mistake, considering you're from Manipal. I thought the world was full of people like me. I thought, yeah, I understand myself. I would use this. Why won't other people use it? My two friends here would use it. Why won't other people use it? The people who are in Manipal make up less than 0.something% of the population. Like the rest of India is not like you guys. Their needs, their goals, their aspirations, everything is different. Everything is different. There's some similarities, obviously. The way you use Snapchat or the way you use Instagram, say somebody below the poverty line would also use Snapchat or Instagram, but differently on a lower end phone. And they will use it for different reasons. They will use it, like you might use it to make a girl jealous, right? But they will use it to make one of their friends jealous, right? Or could be some kid might be using it to make a girl jealous, but in a completely different context, right? So same human desires play out. And what I made kind of my quest of my life is to figure out, how do humans work? Forget about people in Manipal versus people in Bangalore versus people in China. In general, there are some common patterns, right? There are overlapping patterns between people in China, in India, in USA, whatever. We call those the human patterns, behavior, right? And I started studying behavior and I said, okay, what is the best way for us to build something that takes advantage of human behavior? What is happening on our server, what's happening on our app is just human, like us understanding human behavior and building a better tool to kind of enable that at scale.
And do you think once you've figured out how humans work exactly, I don't think it's possible to figure out how humans work exactly, but once you've come close, you can be one of the best entrepreneurs, one of the best businesses in India?
Yeah, they all are. Like we had the good fortune of knowing a lot of billionaires, a lot of multimillionaires, a lot of venture capital firms who are worth billions. They're all exactly the same. They have this deep understanding of human psychology. That's it. The business part is secondary. Like you meet, okay, let's talk about venture funding, right? Like if you meet VCs, the question about finances are all secondary, especially in the early stages. It's purely a question about who are you? Do you really get into the mind? Can you get into the skin of your audience? That's what they ask, or that's what they're looking for.
Okay.
And I want to give another spin to this, for a lot of computer grads sitting out there, computer undergrads sitting out there. You guys look at your trajectory as, okay, abhi main developer banunga, फिर senior developer banunga, and eventually you see a post of product manager. By the time you reach product manager, you've got nothing to do with coding. You've got developers working for you, and you're just glued to your audience. Though I think Varun used a phrase, can you get to the skin of your audience? These are the problem statements that those guys are solving. They're not solving ML, AI, kaun sa algorithm achhe se laga lu main. That's not happening at that level. It's a whole different game out there. Adoption is king.
All right. So guys, now a question from our audience. Ayush from the audience asks, how do student entrepreneurs raise funds? Any ideas on those lines? Shashank, do you want to take charge? You look very happy.
No, I think Varun's got to answer that question. Varun raised...
Sure, Varun.
You guys know Varun's story, right?
Oh, yes, JobSpire.
No, he was in 4th year when he raised funding.
So Varun, could you please tell us a little bit more about your whole journey?
I mean, you have to get rejected a lot. I cold emailed a lot. Like one thing I really give myself like a pat on the back for I'll always learn the most relevant sales skill before the rest of the world knows it. Like I knew back then that cold emails are the way to reach out to anybody. In fact, I've cold emailed people like Mukesh Ambani, Sam Altman, and I got replies.
Wow.
So that was all the way back then. Today, I realized that it's personal branding. Like if you want to reply from somebody, you have to brand yourself really well. Otherwise, you're not getting a reply. It's just too noisy. In the future, it's going to be most likely the visual aspect of things. Like you have to look very good. And it doesn't mean like you as a person, like these backgrounds or whatever, that gives you a differentiator. So many different things. Coming to your point, right way to raise funding is to cold email all the people who can put in money, who have that ability. Go with a prototype. Without a prototype, you're just a guy with your opinion. The world is not changed by your opinion, it's changed by your example. So create a prototype, take that prototype to these 70 people that you've emailed and say, boss, I'm an early stage company. I'm looking, to kind of, firstly, I don't think it's possible to raise money while you're still in college. Like, I have no idea how I did it. Like, I know I'm the exception. I am the exception. Like, and
very humble of you, Varun.
No, not in a humble way. It's like, just statistically speaking, we had the deck on this, right? In jobs, it's called odds of for losers. The chance of you being hit by a meteorite is more than the chance of you raising funding as a student. The smarter thing to do would be like complete your engineering. Okay, just wait, whatever. I raised capital a small amount of time before I graduated. Graduate, then raise capital. The only thing you'll get by raising money while you're still a student is to tell other people, boss, I raised money when I'm a student. It's not going to help you with the next Flipkart. Right?
Once again, that whole flex point comes in.
No, it's not the flex point. What I'm trying to say is statistically, you're most likely to waste your time. Right? And you don't want to be in a situation, your business comes first, right? You don't want to be in a situation where you waste your time. So a smart thing to do would be this. Email those 70, 100, 200, 500 guys, whoever it is. You will get rejected by 80 of them out of 200 or maybe 199. One guy is going to say yes. You just need one guy. Once the first guy says yes, I'll put in a check of say $50,000. Then you can get the other guys very easy. You'll be like, this guy's investing. Do you guys want to invest? Right? Usually, in fact, there's a video about this that I made. You guys can check it out on my YouTube, but it's basically how to convince an investor. And the story so goes that I made a skit about this, that he tries to raise from an investor, nobody responds. Okay. But then he says that Narayan Murthy is investing, and then all the investors say that, okay, I'll put in. So that's how, I'm serious. That's how the world works. It's very hype-driven cycle. But guys, let me just throw caution in the wind, right? Because I raised capital. We did JobSpire. And then I started Avalon. We all started Avalon, where we didn't raise capital, where we were bootstrapped, right? And Avalon is a far more profitable company. It did far better than JobSpire, right? We made a killing at Avalon, especially in the first 3 years. So why is it that I raised capital and did poorly, or not poorly, but like didn't build a massive company, versus did Avalon and built a reasonable sized company? Why? Avalon was bootstrapped. We literally struggled for the first 3 months because we were like, okay, basically I was funding the first few months, but after that we were like, we have to figure it out by ourselves. Because when you're paying only your salary, it's fine. When you're paying the salary of 10, 20 people, it gets really hectic. Your run rate will go into crores very quickly. It's very expensive. So how did we manage? So that's why I'm throwing caution to the wind. You don't need VC capital. Why do you want to sit and be judged by somebody else every single day? Some businesses need that, sure. You need the capital to build the next Facebook or whatever. But otherwise, try to build a business by yourself. 99.99999% of businesses in India build businesses without external capital. It's just for the press. You're doing it for the press.
Guys, this panel discussion is getting very interesting, but we are at a crunch of time. So let me ask you guys a very quick last question. So how it's a very simple question, actually. How exactly do you guys deal with stress? Like, there's a lot of stress on the job. I know that. How do you unwind?
Okay, there's a technique that I got to tell you about. There is Varun's the kind of person, he's a gadget maniac, or I don't know what you call. There are certain people, and I find most of these guys to be centered around IECSC clubs in Manipal. So he tries gadgets that have not made their way into India. He'd sometimes spend his entire salary getting gadgets that are that I don't know, even the Tech Crunch reporters wouldn't know. So he introduced me to something called Trans Direct Current Simulator, TDCS, and there are electrodes on it. You place it on either sides of your head. It's safe to use.
This seems like something out of episode of Black Mirror or something, dude.
No, but it's safe. You should research on it. TDCS. It's a safe technique, and I have used it a couple of times. If you wanted a fancy answer, there you go. But apart from that, I think we've understood mental health very critically when we built our one of our products called Calm India. So
I'm familiar.
You understand a lot of fundamentals around brain, how sleep helps, how important sleep is, circadian rhythm, and stuff like that. So then, with knowledge comes power. Ignorance might be bliss, but with knowledge comes power, and you're able to, tune your body to that.
Also,
According
like,
to that.
I don't think either of us gets too stressed in life, to be honest, because we always figure out a solution, and we know that we can always figure out a solution. So whenever there's a problem, we're not the people who cry more about the problem. We're like, okay, that happened. Now what do we do next? So I don't think even if we get stressed, it'll be max for like 15, 20 minutes or max 30 minutes, and then we go for a walk and we're fine. But I think the better question would be, how do we unwind? Because when you're an entrepreneur, there's no Saturdays, Sundays. You're on the clock 24/7. So I think the way I unwind is I just game a lot. I just pick up new games or play Apex or Dota or whatever in the night, few games, and then go to sleep. Because that takes me away from all the things that have happened in the day, and I'm completely defocused from what's happened in the day. And now I'm thinking about how to beat that person or something like that. So it's completely different.
See, guys, not gonna lie, most entrepreneurs I've talked to, they give me answers like yoga or meditation and stuff along those lines. But really good to hear this new thing.
Generic answers. I'm not saying.
Yeah, it's very generic. I'm very happy to listen to all this TDCS. Abhinav, could you please repeat that for the benefit of everyone and me as well?
You said it. That's what it is.
Oh, TDCS. All right, great. Cool then. One last question from the audience. I've just received it. Really sorry. One trap/mistake you think people should avoid when starting a startup?
Don't come in it for money.
Yeah, I think that's a very good advice. I think that's very, very good advice. If you build a startup just for money, you'll quit. You'll tap out within a few weeks.
I've seen a lot of people who do that. They first focus on the monetization aspect than the business itself. They're like, how will this make money? And then forget about all the things that actually matter. So yeah.
You will only make money if your customers are happy, if your users are happy. Like, yeah, you can make some money by being complete dicks. But if you want to build a company, like the kind of companies that I know, the kind of companies you guys want to build. Guys want to build legacy companies, like businesses that become legacy companies at some point, like huge companies, change the world to a certain extent. If you want to do that, you have to take a specific person, say these type of people are who I'm going to help, whether that be the bottom of India or people like you guys. Like if you want to help people like you, and usually I tell people to help people like themselves, right? So you pick that person out, then you say, I'm going to make this person happy. And then you say, I'm going to make this person happy through career-related stuff. I'm going to make this person happy by delivering food faster. Like Swiggy, for example, in the early days, like you can listen to some of Swiggy's podcasts. And the founder basically says, we just wanted your food to be delivered to you ASAP. That's it. That's all he wanted. Right? So just be obsessed with customer happiness. And you'll see us doing that every single day.
Know your customer and listen to your customer. Very important, right? Because if you're listening to the wrong customer, then you're screwed. So first know your customer and then listen to the right customer. That's important. Early days.
Right. That's good advice, not gonna lie. And that was what I wanted to listen to. All right, so guys, with that, we come to an end to this segment of the Manipal Conclave. Thank you very much, Shashank, Varun, and Abhinav for taking time out and enlightening us with your knowledge. Personally, I want to be an entrepreneur as well when I grow up, straight out of college, actually. And yeah, this session, this one-on-one with you guys really helped me out a lot, and I'm pretty sure it helped everybody else in the audience out a lot. Once again, thank you everyone for tuning in on the Zoom call as well as on our YouTube live. Please be sure to check out Avalon Meta. These guys are doing crazy stuff. I've checked out their app. By the way, compliments on the app. Good stuff. And follow MIT TechTatva on Instagram for latest updates from the event. Thank you. This is your host, Arinja Sinha, signing out.